Imogen, thank you so much for joining us here at Super Investor. Great to see you again.
Lovely to see you too.
How would you characterise the last 12 months for this industry, and what do you expect to see now as we're going into 2024?
It's definitely been a lot slower in multiple areas. So fundraising has been down significantly on where it was over the last few years, and also investment activity and exit activity has also been much slower. So our reckoning is it's about 20 to 30% lower than it has been in previous years. We are starting to see some green shoots of recovery, but it's still very tentative, I think, at the moment. So 2024, our expectations are that it will be a bit busier than 2023, but we're not expecting any record-breaking years on the whole.
If that's the economic situation, what does that mean for you working in the industry? Is it a bit of a wait-and-see approach at the moment, or can you be quite dynamic?
I think that some of the knock-on effects of what's been happening over the last 2 years will continue to have an impact. So, for example, reduced distributions are really clogging up the system because it means that LPs have less capital to reinvest into new fund managers. And I think people have also been focused more on the more obvious managers and taking less more speculative bets on those more emerging managers. So I think it's much harder for those people who are maybe newer to the industry or maybe less experienced, but those people who are well established should hopefully continue to do well.
Yeah, so you talked there about the LPs. Who would you say are faring well? You described there the more established. Is there a different sort of approach or different sort of sectors that you think are going to be interesting?
We really specialise in kind of the lower mid-market space, and I think we continue to think that that's going to be really interesting. You can buy companies at cheaper valuations, there's lower leverage, which obviously in today's environment is preferential. There's more exit opportunities, you're not reliant on the IPO market, which again is very an interesting area to be in at the moment. So the lower mid-market space, I think, is where we continue to think of there being opportunities. But there's also maybe slightly more entrepreneurial aspects that are also interesting. So credit secondaries is very popular at the moment because rising interest rates has obviously made private credit investing interesting. And if you can buy those positions at a discount, then it's even more interesting. So credit secondaries is another area.
And do you see LPs sort of re-upping with existing partners and things more because of the environment as well? It feels like it's a more comfortable sort of position to be in.
Yeah, I think it probably is safer, and you do want to protect those relationships that you've built up over many years. So I think re-ups is an obvious place for LPs to go, and maybe they'll stick to those relationships rather than branch out and invest with new managers that is a bit more speculative.
You talked there about relationships and trust and what you build. How important is it to sort of come together at events like this to reconnect? Just describe that for me and why it's important to be here.
I think it's really helpful. It's very efficient from a starting point as an LP. You get to see everyone all in one go. And those personal relationships are really important, I think, to build up over many years because you're investing in a people business, right? This is a people business, and you're backing people's ability to spot and generate value. So reconnecting on those personal fronts and engaging with people at events like this, I think, is really valuable.
And perhaps even more so in an economic environment like this.
Yeah, and it also gives you an opportunity to meet people who you wouldn't have met otherwise and branch out maybe from your standard cohort of relationships that you've got. So I think it's definitely helpful in an environment like this, and also to broaden the relationships that you've already got.
So you've talked there a bit about sort of staying in the safety zone, if you like, but if you were to kind of start to move out of that, perhaps end of 2024 and sort of looking longer term, how do you see that panning out, and do you see that as a realistic, reasonably short-term proposition that things will change?
I think things will change. Fundamentally, the private equity industry is here to stay, and it's going to continue to grow, and there's increasing demand from both traditional investors, but also I think as people are opening up that private wealth market, there's going to be more interest in investing in private equity. So we're definitely going to continue to see growth in the private equity industry. So I don't have worries about how it's going to grow from 2024 onwards. I think it's just maybe going to be a slightly slow year for the next 12 months as people kind of get to grips with the macroeconomic situation and where we are today.
So perhaps thinking to that future, what do you hope to be having in terms of conversations here that may help you, that may inform you? Because one of the things that people like about events like this is that they take ideas away. And is that something you're hoping to do?
Yeah, I think meeting new people that I wouldn't necessarily know, or groups that are doing interesting things, and also understanding how people are approaching the same issues everyone's experiencing in the market, and kind of learning from each other and developing those skill sets, and also meeting other LPs and seeing how they're approaching their GP relationships is really beneficial.
Thank you for sharing your approach too, Imogen. Great to talk to you today.
Pleasure.
Nice to see you.
Thanks, Emma.